Hello everyone, I have another video here, going through some things I've been working on recently, including OpenCCSensors, which is not quite out yet. I'm running a kind of like a pre-alpha release that I built, including some changes I added for IndustrialCraft and IndustrialCraft Reactors. Don't mind the crazy spawn rates we have here. I'm playing with more creatures and it's, I don't know if I like it. There's way too many creatures being spawned. I suppose I could configure it. Anyways, first thing with OpenCCSensors is I think the second sensor added was a proximity sensor, so I've tied that into our force field here, which is pretty handy. Tied it into all of our doors. So you have double door, single door, and more single doors and so on. The basic configuration is pretty easy. If we jump down and knock the floor out here, you can see I'm using like a really early version of CC sensors. They have textures now. This stone block here is actually the sensor. Kind of looks funny. This is the way this door stuff works. Really easy. Just show you real quick. We got a redstone torch, another redstone torch right there. And we have a tiny little script. Basically sets a bounding box of where you need to be standing. And this is all relative to the sensor, which is above it. And then the door script basically runs a proximity sensor, gets all the targets, and then if it's a player and if it's in the bounds, we add it to a table. And then if we have something in that table, we set the output to the right false, and then we print all the guys out. Otherwise we set it to true. So it's not running right now, but if I run it here real quick, so see when I get to the right level here, this goes on, ignites the redstone, which flicks the other side, which turns this on. Pretty straightforward. Alright. That's that. Oops. Just cover up this hole real quick. So the other thing I've been working on recently is IndustrialCraft Reactor setup. So you got a little kind of display here. It's turned off right now, that's why it's sitting here loading. Let's go turn it on. I'll show you how this works. So, go this way, I guess. There's quite a few different pieces to the system. Yep, looks like that rail got stuck. I'll fix that real quick. If I can jump. So this rail is actually used to transport the UU matter we use for creating lapis lazuli for cooling. Yeah, so this is our reactor room. We have our main reactor down here. This creates power. We have a pipe going from a logistics inventory pipe, which is hooked up through the other side via the railway that you see there. So the railway basically transports the items instead of pipes. Could have ran a pipe all the way here through too, but this is quite a bit cooler. In the back here we have basically our storage banks for power. These turtles are essentially going up and down these MFSUs to see how much power is in each of them. So if I kind of grab one here, it knows that we have, in this bank that it's looking at, we have 50 million EU stored of 100 million capacity. Max output that this bank can do is 5100 EU per tick, and this is the fuel of the turtle. And then it shows you from top to bottom which MFSUs have how much power. So this entire storage bank it's actually pretty crazy. It took us a long time to get this all built. Pretty much drained every single resource we had, and then spent us several time getting more resources and playing with Mistcraft to get dense worlds and stuff. But each one of these stacks is good for 200 million, which gives us 1 billion stored EU, which is pretty insane. The other reactor we have set up here is our breeder reactor. I'll show you how that works in a bit. And above me we have the cobblestone / UU matter generator, which we use for making lapis lazuli for active cooling. So the way this kind of works is there's a whole bunch of igneous extruders making cobblestone. Those are going into a recycler, which is making scrap, which is going to this mass fabricator, which is making UU matter. I have it turned off right now because we actually have quite a bit of... Oh, how the hell did he get in there? I'm wrecking stuff. Alright. Let's fix that. So red pipe signal on, redstone signal. There we go. There. Yeah, so we have quite a bit of scrap. We've almost gotten back all that scrap that I just took out of here. It's kind of funny. Kind of messed it up a little bit, but that's okay. And then anything additional goes to this void pipe. So again, EU matter goes down there as requested by the reactor for lapis lazuli, which is used for cooling, which I'll show you in a second. And that's basically the whole system. So let's just head down here real quick. So this is the setup. We're running with this active cooling using condensators. Basically what you do is when one of these things gets low, you combine them with lapis lazuli and it refreshes it, and then you can just swap them in and out. All these quad uranium cells in this configuration gives us 4,360 EU per tick, which is above high voltage. So kind of the trick for that is you point each of these high voltage transformers, above extreme voltage. Each of these high voltage transformers, you point to this block, and then that converts everything to 512, and that goes off to our storage banks, which is over there. So then kind of see the wiring under here for our storage banks. This comes in from the reactor, and then each of these go up the sides of them, essentially to charge them, and then this green one down the middle is where we actually get all of the data out, or the EU out of the storage banks. These medium and low voltage transformers are hooking up to the charge stations that the turtles use, and then over here we have it just unhooked right now, but there is this is the hookup all the output goes through, and there's a little turtle here to kind of like, you know, keep track of the output and broadcast it to the stats thing at the beginning. So if we wanted to get this going, essentially we would just plug it in like so. Don't think it's going to actually do anything right now because we don't have the mass fab on, but you could see this actually hit quite high. So there's, what did I say, each bank does 5120, so each kind of 2 banks does 10K, so we've got about 50,000 EU per tick out of the billion of EU of storage up there, which is pretty insane, but it's kind of the point of this project. Put this in here for now. But actually, when we have this thing running at full tilt, which I'll turn on later, the mass sap is quite quick. This is our breeder. This is another design from the IndustrialCraft forums. This is the way this works is there's a turtle at the bottom here. He has this quad uranium cell. If we want to heat this thing up, he'll switch it in, and then he'll fill this up with depleted isotope cells. When it gets to 91,000, it will switch it back to the single uranium cell, essentially maintain its heat at 91,000 heat, and then pull the isotopes from here and put the re-enriched ones in here. So going back to the main reactor, this guy is used for essentially for monitoring. He's again using the CCSensors. I don't have the new textures yet. I haven't updated it, but so that's why it looks like stone, and that's why that's why this is a helmet here. But the guy in the back here is actually the cooling system. So he swaps in these replenished LZH condensators, which he gets from up above. All the old ones come in the bottom. Goes to this Mark II crafting table to replenish them. And then any lapis lazuli we need is given by this supplier pipe, which is hooked up through logistics there, which goes to the inventory logistic pipe, which is hooked up to the railcraft rails. And this basically, this crafting table, it takes EU matter and outputs lapis lazuli, so pretty straightforward. Yeah, so let's turn this thing on. So we have some basic stats going on here. It knows how much power it has in the system. So right now we have 625 million power. We actually have a config here. Oops, if I could type right. This is basically the kind of a, put it to 100,000, which is really low. Basically, when there's that much energy left, the reactor will turn itself off so that we're not wasting power. Let's get the cooling system on here. Alright, so now this thing's online. You can actually see that it just changed out all of those LZH condensators and replenished them, so that's pretty cool. You can see we're getting 4,360 EU per tick here. No heat. So all of these stats are basically coming from the sensor card from OpenCCSensors. Some of them are derived, but basically our output, our heat, our max heat, if we're online, all of those come from this. This guy doesn't use OpenCCSensors at all. He's using the IndustrialCraft turtle item analyzer, which is that little magnifying glass there. Now you can see the depleted condensators are going through the crafting table and going up there. And then this guy just requested some, oh, I must have just busted it. Let me fix it real quick. There we go. This guy's requesting let's see, should I fix that? I guess I can go there, it's fine. Make sure that goes up there. Yeah, okay. This guy's requesting lapis lazuli, which is getting supplied by the EU matter to this crafting table over here. And this is what's actually making this all work. And so all of that is filling up these guys over here. Now if we go and jump up to that loading screen we had going on. Jump up here real quick. You can see we have basically a nice little light to say that it's online. You know what our capacity is, which is 1 billion. Reactor runtime, how much output we've given out. See, scrap system's on, but everything's paused right now, which is fine because we actually have like pretty much a full chest of UV matter now, so kind of turn it off for now. And so this will slowly increment its capacity, as you can see there. And then if I had any drop of throughput going through here, we'd go through here. And I'll get that on in a second. So just going back down here. You can see each of these guys scanning. It's on both sides, by the way. That's how we did it. So this basically, what this guy is doing is going up and down, using the OpenCC sensor to find targets as it goes up and down, and it keeps finding these guys. So he'll keep going up until there's no more targets, and then he'll go down. And this is kind of a pre-set up Z level. So I think it's some of these sat and drained a bunch of power for a while, so they got like crap loads of energy. So we can find one that's not too much in it. Let's see here. Yeah, they pretty much all sat for like a night and filled up in energy. Oh, they will actually go down there, but only when they drop below a certain fuel level, which is set to 1,000 right now. So going back here. So we watch this for a few seconds. You can see that these condensators slowly lose their heat, and then once they get to under 10%, the cooling system will swap them all out. And when it swaps them out, it doesn't just do the one under 10%. It'll do anything under 20% just to do more than one at a time. So you can see it just swapped out 4 right there. The other thing is it will actually shut off the reactor every time it swaps it out, which means that we're not running 4360 constantly, but it's pretty close. Like maybe in this whole 273 seconds, it might have paused for 2 or 3 seconds just to make sure that we don't incur heat while we're swapping these out. You can see we've already generated 24 million power in the last 5 minutes, which is pretty crazy. And this this run will basically fill up the entire storage system and then some. Alright, so I'll show you how this breeder works real quick. I'm just going to pause it and go get some isotopes. Alright, so I have some depleted uranium cells here. I'll just combine up for some isotopes. Oh, jeez. And I'll just start slapping these in here. Show you how this works real quick. So now that we turn this on, so this guy is going to basically bring his heat up, and you can see that we have the depleted isotope cells around this. I'll pick that up right away. And so let's turn this guy on. There we go. Now this one isn't as automated as the other systems that we have over here, and the main reason for that is it actually heats the crap out of the area, and kind of like to keep an eye on it. You can already see it's gotten up to about 7,000 heat or so. Let's do that. I'll just make some more of these. So this is using OpenCCSensors with the IndustrialCraft sensor card. Again, using the old version. And the item, turtle item analyzer. And I use the item analyzer to basically look inside the reactor and figure out where everything is. Alright, let's do another check here. So we're at 21,000 heat. Pretty soon you're going to see things catch on fire here, which is pretty cool. So again, the blueprints that we're using for all of these, for the reactor output and the breeder output, it's from the IndustrialCraft forums and the Nuclear Engineer subforum. I think it's labeled free blueprints, and some people there have spent a long time figuring this stuff out, which I'm glad for. So let me kind of concentrate more on the scripting part of things, which is what I like to do. So let's see here, things are catching on fire, which is pretty neat. And we're at 38,000, 40,000 heat now, so let's finish this off. I saved these uranium cells up from the last run just so I could show this little video. Usually you get between 64 and 72, sometimes as low as 28 from a run. And actually this is our last bit of uranium that we have running right now. Mostly because the current version of IndustrialCraft 1.109 don't let you compress uranium into uranium bars anymore. So hopefully they fix that soon. Alright. There we go. So we're almost heated up. At about 68,000, I think, is when it starts to get it actually hurts you. Oh, where'd my chest piece go? Oh, I must have put it in the chest. There, let's see, pretty close. So I should start getting, it's 68, oh there it is, 67,000. So it actually causes damage on you. And you can see that this is swapping out all of the different depleted isotopes for you automatically. It's already done a few of them, 4 of them I guess. So I am going to let that sit for a bit. We're going to get some coal dust real quick. The reason I went to get coal dust is that uranium cell was starting to get kind of low, so yeah, things going pretty good now. I think it's probably at full heat. So if we have a look here, yeah, so this thing is set up to sit at 91,000 heat, which according to the forum post about this breeder, it's the optimal heat. And so when it's in that heat, we'll actually go with this uranium cell. And the reason I ran up there quick is I wanted to get a better uranium cell in there for later, so I can finish these 64. Alright. I have to hide in the side here so I don't get hurt. Alright. So I'm just going to swap this one out real quick. Just so it can finish its job. It doesn't actually try to swap anything unless the heat gets... oh, actually it does figure that out. Look at that. So the way this is configured, just to show you real quick, is we set a max heat, a low heat, and a high heat. It shuts everything off at this max heat. This high heat is when it switches in the uranium cell, and the low heat is when it switches in the quad cell to heat up, essentially. There we go. So you can see it swapped in the quad cell real quick to get it heated up, and then once it's over 91,500, swaps in the uranium cell. And then it'll keep doing this until it goes through all of these cells. It's pretty cool. Alright. Suppose I should show how this works. I mostly did. This mass fab, when it's on full power, it goes pretty good. Here, let me see if I can get this up again. One sec. Okay, it looks like I got this thing running again here. For some reason I had to take it off and put it back on again. But anyways, right now this is running on solar power. We have a few medium voltage arrays out here. I'll usually run this during the day because it's basically free. So anyways, you can see this thing, it's slowly, it's bringing in all the scrap that this thing's making. It's getting provided by on demand, and it's slowly making you better. So now we're doing like this thing will do like 306, but I think it's getting dark right now, so it's just slowly dropping. Alright, so that's all well and good, but we have, a whole chest full of this scrap to go through. Let's kind of speed this up a little bit. So let's go plug this thing into the main power and watch this thing go. Oops. Alright. So, second we get this thing kind of going here. See, we're doing 51,124 E per tick, which is pretty insane. So if we go back and watch the mass fabricator again. Oh, right, my breeder's still going. Let's just jump back up here. And we'll check out what this thing is. It's a little bit over, just because of the rest of the solar power. But if we actually have a look at the inventory here, basically as soon as we get enough scrap in here, it just blasts through it. It's actually pretty crazy. We're actually waiting on the logistics pipes to supply the scrap. We actually won't use power straight up right now as it is, just because we don't want to waste this whole scrap, but just for fun I can make that happen. So if I turn off that, this thing just keeps going, I think, when it runs out of power. Maybe not. Yeah. I didn't actually set this thing up, so. Yeah, well. Anyways, it goes pretty fast without the power too. So you can see this cobblestone system's going pretty quick here. I didn't actually put this together. My buddy who plays with me also did this section of it. I did all the other scripting parts mostly. And there's a little computer here too, which shows me that everything's running. So now that we got this thing online, we can actually go up here and check out some of these other stats. So you can see we've actually put out 60 million output. No, looks like I miscalculated that. That's okay. So you can see that this, scrap system's on, gone through a bunch of condensators. Bunch of cool stuff. Alright, so I'm just going to go turn the power off here, just so I can actually get this thing up to a billion EU stored, just for fun. Because we really don't need more UU matter. And checking on this real quick. So it's gone through quite a few of these. And you can go in there too. And yeah, that's basically our whole system. Can probably paste bin these scripts later if anybody's interested. It's very specific for our setup, but maybe you can get some ideas on how to use it. And just pause it for a second and let this thing get to a billion U. Alright, so just about done filling these storage banks up. Actually had to restart the reactor at one point. Decided that it was going to exit itself. I'm not sure why it does that. Once in a while, any of the scripts that use the parallel API just randomly exit. I haven't had time to figure it out. There we go. So it filled up, the reactor turned itself off. The cooling system's still online. When you saw it go offline on both before, it was because it was replacing the condensators. So if we go running over here real quick and have a look. Real quick. So we're sitting, apparently nice floating point errors there. We almost went through the whole quad uranium cell. I guess we went through about 2/3 of it. And if we look at these, they're all maxed out. Just grab some randomly. Yeah, so there you go. That's what 1 billion EU looks like. Yes, thanks for watching.